In every game, there are hidden gameplay tactics and crazy hacks that the game doesn't tell you about. However, there are also very subtle techniques the game does highlight that aren't so easy to understand. Well, in today's video, I'm going to go over all of that and some things I bet you didn't know about Dragon's Dogma 2. It's 𝒉𝒆𝒍𝒑𝒔 again from Identity with another video. I hope this helps you out. Now, let's not waste any more time and dive right in. Firstly, I want to talk about a method using potions in the most unexpected way. Did you know that you can heal yourself even if you have 0 health? This is especially useful if you're almost about to fell a very difficult opponent, then out of nowhere that Drake just kills you with one swing of its tail. Or what if you don't want to consume your wake stones quite yet? Well, this hack will help you tremendously. After losing all of your health bar, you aren't necessarily dead yet, because while in a death animation, you can quickly use the 𝐿𝐵𝒍𝒑𝒔 potion to heal yourself. If you noticed, at the bottom left of the screen right here, there's a quick use option on your controller's D-pad for items in your inventory. Use this to quickly apply the potions before dying. But guess what? This not only applies to the 𝐿𝐵𝒍𝒑𝒔, but any potion. Is really great when atop giant foes and you've utilized so much of your stamina while inflicting insane damage to their heads. Just use one of those potions or combine items that restore a great amount of stamina and you'll be back to 100% stamina in no time. Here's a pretty cool one, and it's about the archer's vocation. At first, honestly, I didn't really like the archer out of all of the others due to his lack of dodge ability and agility in general. I thought the archer would be more of a nimble type class, but I quickly learned to love it once I realized how OP the archer's kicking is. It's way stronger than you think. They're considered critical strikes actually. Surprisingly, not really against humans, but enemies you really wouldn't expect when looking at it from this perspective. Take for example these Roxorians. You know, the ones that roll at you, and the only way to really deal damage is when they are on their backs. Every time I'd attempt to strike them with my fighter's sword or warrior's hammer, their armor would just knock me back, and you can feel that defensive force. But with the archer's kick, it literally staggers them continuously, then eventually knocks them on their backs, exposing their soft belly. This I never thought was a thing, but it's when I realized how strong the kick was. So I started experimenting with it more, kicking giants' legs and other things that I wouldn't think would have any effect on, but it does. And this is what you must utilize if you want to be a successful archer. It's a very strong asset. Moving on, let's discuss something else. Another very viable tactic that is pretty much looked over most of the time, throwing rocks, and how this deals insane damage to giants. And this is especially good when increasing the strength stat, because then you can throw objects farther and harder. Just look at how much damage I'm dealing to this chimera when tossing these rocks at it. As you can see, they easily stagger and cause knockdowns, allowing you to then deal that critical damage to their weak points. And in the chimera's lair, before the fight even began, I saw tons of rocks laying about just waiting for us to use. Also, during the fight, if you have a sorcerer as your pawn and those really strong spells are being cast, more rocks will begin to spawn from the rubble. I just thought you should take notice of this if you weren't aware. Now here's one I know a lot of you are interested in. I think it's also one of the things that separates Dragon's Dogma 2 from that hack and slash category, counterattacking, and how to know when to act on it mid-combat. Countering foes will cause staggering and knockdowns. This is considered critical damage, and when they're down, you can cause an execution. Countering in general is one of the most lethal techniques in any form of combat. In boxing, counterpunches in most cases ends fights. So taking advantage of your opponent's aggression is what it's all about. Anytime a minotaur rushes you or an ogre jumps at you, there are various ways to counterattack them while causing significant damage and opening them up for even more. A perfectly timed tusk toss by the fighter or a warrior's heaven sword sunder. Even the archer's focused bow will topple these giants. What about the thief's formless feint that autonomously dodges attacks, which immediately turns its next attack into a counter? You must also look at the enemy behavior, how hobgoblins, when they rush you or swing and fail, take that as an opportunity to deal that crippling blow. You can actually tell when a critical counter is supposed to be used. There's a small window of slow, and the indicator is shown at that brief moment. It's also when the combo can be turned into an execution, so keep your eyes peeled for this. Okay, this leads me to my next topic. Did you know that you can customize your character's versatility even more than simply changing the vocation you prefer to use? For example, the way that you enhance your equipment and weapons can directly affect your combat style. If you want to be a staggering thief, just remember that word, staggering thief, that adds on to its already amazing melee skills by implementing the dwarven style of enhancing weapons and equipment. You can. Because you know, the thief, what I noticed when playing as him, he swings really fast and hard. He deals a lot of critical damage, but he does not stagger his foes that much. So sometimes when you're in the midst of fighting, they can interrupt you with their attacks, like hobgoblins and other enemies. They can interrupt you. It's rare, but they can. So just imagine adding stagger to the frequency of the thief's attacks. I didn't even know there were separate types of enhancements that provide different outcomes. This way you can tailor your builds even more than you thought. In the original Dragon's Dogma, players complained about when certain attributes were leveled up while using the fighter, for example. Then when switching to the mage, you'd have a very strong mage but weak spells. This caused many problems when vocation swapping, and the devs had to do something about it. So in the sequel, this was changed dramatically. Now each vocation has a set attribute composition once switching to it. For me, this begged the question, well then, how do you customize deeper if you want like a staggering thief or a strong archer whose arrows are far more impactful? Well, I can get all into that, but not in this video. Don't worry though, I'll go all into that and more in the next video right here, where you can find out which enhancements do what and where to find them so you can begin to start making ultimate builds. But that'll do it for this one. If it helped you out in any way, I'd appreciate a like and subscribe to my channel if you're new here. I'll see you in the next one. Be right out.